Mhm. See if we're here. Hello, everyone. It's Renee Barabo, the Practical Shaman, and I'm here today with,
Sandra Ingerman.
and we're both going to be off camera today because this is just our new format. But I thought I would show myself just a minute, and I'm going to uh, be here with you. We wanted to come here and bring, whoops, we wanted to come here and bring some hope today. So we want to offer you our insights and our wisdom and give you an opportunity in the chat to respond with your own hopeful and insightful insight. So, Sandra, you want to kick it off?
Absolutely. So I know I have been watching, as you know, I teach a lot and I'm very available to my students. And so I've been watching for weeks and months now the unbelievable fear coming up around this election. And so, of course, last night I couldn't help myself. I kept looking and seeing what was happening. And what came to me personally that I'd like to share is that um, I feel that what people are experiencing, and part of what America is experiencing right now, is a death. And I'm not saying that all death is bad, because death is not an end. Death is actually a transition into something new. And I know it looks like, well, what's coming up new doesn't look so good, but in these particular times, we actually do have a lot of opportunities. But I find that the very first thing that happens when people are upset about something going on in the world, we get into a mental state, trying to speak and preach and talk about what's happening and what did happen and how did this happen. And what I want to say to everybody is, in my body, I feel like an actual death happened. And so when a death happens, for me, the very first thing that I do is go into my heart instead of my mind. And so I'm finding that what people are doing is immediately going into mental thinking, trying to explain things. But we know in trauma therapy that when we do that, what we're doing is we're doing it because our body doesn't feel safe. And so the best way to make your body feel safe is, number one, to keep breathing. Remember to keep breathing. But instead of listening so much to your head about um, all the anticipatory awful things that are going to happen, you don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen. What I want to suggest is, if this election result really touched you very hard, and you do feel that it's a death in your own life and a death to a way of life in America and in the world, that what we do with death is the first thing we do is we take time to grieve. And everything in nature grieves. And so this is not, this is a natural process. And so, examples that I give, I'll just give some short examples of a raven took a baby squirrel from its mother at my house, and the mother stood on the rock wall for days, crying and crying and
Hmm.
letting herself grieve this loss. I had an African violet plant that I have a very long story about, but I'm going to keep it very short. And it actually committed suicide out of grief because it's the African violet that lived next to it died, and a plant specialist taught me about this. Trees grieve. There's so much scientific research on this. Every single creature grieves. I've watched birds grieve. And so, for a lot of us, we've just been handed some news where we're going too far, where all of a sudden our mind is racing, racing, racing into the future of all the terrible things that are going to happen. But let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to drop into how we feel right now and to allow ourselves to grieve. Just allow ourselves to feel the feelings that we're feeling right now. And I know Renee has some beautiful things to share too. And I will at some point come back and give some suggestions on ways that you could work with grief. Before I turn this over to Renee, I do want to say that on one of my Facebook pages, and I'm not sure which one it is because I posted on, I think, five Facebook pages today. Somebody in our circle actually posted the post that I did when Donald Trump won the election last time. And the post is basically just a repeat of what we're all saying today again. So I'm going to find that post and I'm going to repost it just because it's really interesting how we keep thinking that we're moving forward, and we are on certain levels. As we allow our heart to break and expand, that's how we evolve. But if we just keep thinking about the same things over and over and over again, we end up just looping the same traumatic life for ourselves and all of life. So I know Renee has some deep wisdom to share with us. And so, Renee.
Deep wisdom. My first thing is to express my condolences. The other day, I was at my board meeting for the annual HOA, and I got up and I said to, the room full of people and the room people listening in their Zoom, is that on Wednesday, half of you will be happy and half of you will be sad. And that really, and what Sandra was just talking about, the grief of that is really important. And to not get swallowed in that grief. I mean, to experience the grief, take the time of the grief, but not get swallowed in the grief, because there is still so much that we can do and accomplish and move forward with. And this morning, I shared a post called Bending Circles, Bridging Science, Spirit, and Society in Times of Transformation. And I was remembering when I was writing this post that many years ago, this sound scientist, Don Estes, had this chart of the quantum field. And he showed us in this really advanced lecture, what I got out of it was, wow, that's very interesting. Near the top of the circle that he's created, where he's bent the field, is that the opposition shrinks, and it allows for a space where God and science draws closer. Now, how does that relate? Well, I believe that this election, and it was a really difficult journey to watch how we could take good citizens, good resilient citizens of our country, and polarize them to be the direct opposite of each other. And if you see, even in the states where, even where Donald Trump won in some of those states, the abortion didn't pass. Now, that's not every state, but a good majority of the states, women came out to vote and say, yeah, you're not taking my body, which gives me hope that we're not just going to have a big stand down. But this idea of that we were so polarized and so opposite from each other made me realize that last week when I was home with my family, we love each other. We have our differences of opinions. I could listen to what my sister felt about the economy and about her concerns and her concerns for her daughter and why she was choosing what she was choosing without having to ruin dinner, without having to get into a big fat fight about it, but to really realize that we really are closer than we know, but it's looking like that we're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. And what we really need is all of you good spiritual leaders out there to come together in that middle ground and show people a way where we can find hope, that we can find forgiveness, and that we can move forward. And like Sandra said, that may take a period of grieving.
Yeah, where we actually grief and death, it creates an incredible fertile state where new relationships and new opportunities are created from. And so I actually, um, I don't always know how to say things like this, but my spirits have prepared me for what we have experienced. And it's not an end. Death is not an end. Death is a beginning. It gives us a place of rebirth. And I can tell you right now, I'm just gonna go kind of off um, and be Sandra Ingerman for a moment. I like to watch patterns, and I like to watch how things weave together. And I have an ability to do that where I can take things from years and different events and create them into this pattern that you can read really easily. And I think the pattern, and this is just coming through me right now, in looking at this heart, looking up to the sky, the pattern that we can actually look at is that um, we have let go of really taking care of ourselves and really taking care of the earth. And climate change is going to create a situation where it doesn't matter who you voted for. I promise you, there are going to be times coming up very soon, and they're already here. Look at what happened in North Carolina and Florida, where it didn't matter what side, political side you were on. You came together to help your neighbor. You rose above a label and you saw people and experienced people as people. And I've been through enough of these kinds of disasters, running down into a basement where the um, highway patrol is trying to help you get safe from a tornado, and you're in a room all night with people who have the most varied political, outside of that room, they might try to shoot you. But in that room, you come together as people. And so I think we need to really be able to look at that of that we're going to be facing things. We think that something's being done to us right now, but as a world community, it doesn't matter what you believe or who you voted for. As a world community, we are going to have to come together and cross that middle line and help each other rebuild a life that keeps being taken from us. And maybe the lesson for us is about how much evolution we still have to go, how much growth, how much commitment we still have to do to our spiritual practices so that we don't back away from life, but we step into it fully and we continue to live fully from our hearts, from our beliefs, and we keep moving forward no matter what is happening around us.
Absolutely. And you know, we are the, if you're listening to this, you're probably the spiritual people. So first of all, we should thank Kamala for stepping up, for running such an amazing election in what, 118 days or something. And the fact that she got so far is a testament to how far we've come as a society as well. Instead of looking at what we didn't get, let's be a little grateful for what where we've come to. And I want to, because this is really important to me. When I was first studying, my first earlier years of studying shamanic healing practices, I I one time I I one time was biased before I did a healing. And when I went in to do the healing, my bias actually brought forth an energy into the world that wasn't my intention. And I was a little bit in awe first of what I was able to manifest until I saw it come back and bite me, right in the butt, because I didn't know that I had a bias. And so it's very, very important to understand our own biases in here. And and what does that mean? Is so knowing that we're biased one way or the other, because half of you listening here are happy and half of you listening here are not happy. And because it wasn't split between us and them, it was split between every other person you see. And so what can we do to improve here is my question. Is like, so I was thinking of uh some nonviolent communication skills that I was looking at for myself. Is like, we really need to be careful and mindful of our language. So when we're speaking or when we're sharing, are we being clear? Are we being specific? Are we being non-judgmental? Can I actively listen to the other person? Now, last week I was with my sister for 5 hours in the car. Now, we didn't just talk politics the whole drive from Maine to New York. We talked about a lot of other things, but in that talking about the other thing, I was actively listening to what was between the spaces of the words. What are the other person's concerns? What are we, as healers and as teachers, what are we missing? If all of these people have these other concerns that we're not hearing, we might not be listening too closely. And then how do we express ourselves as we listen without judgment and try to fix somebody else from what their real experience is? One tree in the woods having one experience and the tree across the streets having another experience. And if we can't know the differences and we want to impose our judgment on it, we're doomed from the get-go. And then what Sandra was talking about is really taking a time out. Taking that time out, like today's a really good day to take a hike, a walk, no matter which side, because it's been heated and it's been divisive and it's been really, really stressful. And know that you did the best you can to, well, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, to bring about the better results. Like I know friends who got on calling lines. I didn't do that. I kind of, worked around my community, but that to know that there's things that you can do. Um, I'm going to turn it back to Sandra, and then I'm going to offer an experience at the end, and she might have one as well.
So, I I'm actually going to be teaching a course around grief and death, and so I have articles on that I have ready to give out. And so I have an article on how to work with grief. And so I just want to give some really simple things. These are really simple things that I wrote a long time ago. Finding ways to pamper yourself, relax in a bath. Remember, water is such a healing element. And when you take a shower and just let that water run over you and just keep on saying, I release my pain, while asking the water to transmute your pain to energy that radiates love and light. And so, even washing your hands in the water, just letting it go, releasing, 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 really focusing on releasing. Physically lying on the earth, or if you can't get out to the earth, imagining yourself lying on the earth. Remember, the earth is 4.6 billion years old. She can hold you in so much love right now and let your pain drain from your body into the earth. Give thanks to the earth for taking your pain and composting it into fertile organic matter that will create new growth. We know that that's happening right now in nature. And reflect on how the earth takes the leaves that have died and fall into the ground in autumn, and the rich soil that ends up being created from it. We don't know from this place of grief, we don't know from this place of change, um, all the transformation that we have available to us. We can go outside and we can allow the wind, it's windy and snowy here in Santa Fe today, to carry away your feelings of pain while you stay open to the loving messages of the breezes of the wind kissing you and holding you in love during this time. Always giving thanks to whatever ever element that you're working with, because the elements will help you release. And so, really decreeing that the energy that you're releasing is being transformed into love and light, so that we're not feeding the heat, the hate, but we're feeding the love. We're not feeding the division, we're feeding the unity. Most of all, give yourself the time to grieve. There is no time frame when you're supposed to just jump up and be back. And remember that ceremony has been used for tens and tens of thousands of years by people all around the world to honor a change that happens, whether the change is one that we're grieving or whether the change is one that we're looking to. And so you can work with fire, you can work with earth, you can work with wind, you can work with water to make something that you can release into those elements to actually perform a shamanic extraction on your body, to release the fear, to release the anger, to release the despair, to release the feelings of hopelessness, because there is no hopelessness. There is no hopelessness. We are source. We cannot be harmed. We're just here to learn how to grow and how to be spirit in a body on this earth at this time. And so everything that's happening right now is for us, to help us wake up and grow into who we came here to be, what our destiny was, what our purpose is, and what our passion is. So nothing is over. We have the opportunity for a new rebirth. But before that, allow yourself the time to be with the elements in whatever way works for you, so that you can be with your grief, you can be with your heart, and you can release it and rest until you're ready to stand up and take your next step forward in life again. And just know that you're held in so much love by this circle, and held by so much love by the spirits, by source, and by all the elements, and by all in the web of life.
Oh, that's beautiful. I just want to blow the wind whistle for you and invite you to see yourself as the daily light, to do daily light ceremony and see yourself as the light worker that you are. So the winds sent me this message that we need to remember that we're light, that we're beings of light, that we're light workers, and that means everywhere we step is in that light, wherever you walk. So to hold space for the light, visualize it expanding gently within you before you go out, before you say a word. Check inside, and is that light expanding or is that light contracting? And this daily practice is just like actually a moment by moment practice on sometimes is just really important to fill yourself up with the light, fill yourself up with the wind, and feel yourself stepping forward as a vessel of source and spirit. And I wish you peace and blessings as we move forward through this time that I'm sure will reveal itself to us in many ways.
That was beautiful. My only closing words to that would be that in times of challenge, in times of grief, in times of death, we need space holders. We need people who know how to hold the space, how to be like a gigantic tree that stands tall in the wind and holds the space while the storm passes. And so Renee gave us a beautiful ending with the wind whistle. And just remember that if you want to be in service right now, that you can be a space holder and keep holding love and keep holding light and keep holding hope because everything changes. And so wherever we are now is going to change too.
Thank you, everyone. And we're holding you in our light as well.